When I was 2 months pregnant, Julian asked me to give his childhood friend a blood transfusion. I refused because I was anemic. But his friends were all saying that I ignored the overall situation. And is lying in the operating room. And you're the only one with a matching blood type. What's wrong with donating a little blood? After saying that, several of them grabbed me and pushed me inside. A fleeting moment of sympathy crossed Julian's eyes. But he steeled himself. It's just a blood transfusion. Our child will be okay. I stopped struggling. A tear slid down my cheek. After the transfusion, I dragged my weakened body to the gynecology and obstetrics department to have an abortion. I stayed in the hospital alone for 3 days after the surgery, while Julian remained by inside all the time. My womb was empty, but the pain was piercing my heart. I ran into Julian, and many of his friends. When I got discharged, I was carrying my backpack alone. But Anne had Julian to help her walk. Julian momentarily paused when he saw me. Why are you still at the hospital? Nothing. I had the miscarriage and walked out the door with a pale face. We'll leave together, he said, grabbing my arm in a tone that left no room for argument. And quickly entered the front passenger seat when we reached the car. Then she said, with an innocent expression and sparkling eyes, Scarlett, I just had stomach ulcer surgery and got car sick easily. Could you please let me have the seat? I didn't argue and opened the door to the back seat. But his friends all rushed in. Now. 3 grown men squeezed into the back seat at once. They stared at me with hostility. Scarlett and is still weak. We'll all come to your house to take care of her. I looked toward Julian in the driver's seat. His face was stiff, but he didn't say a word to refute them. I smiled bitterly as the sound of cicadas filled the air. How could I still have expectations for this man? Julian's friends hated me. They thought he was perfect for Anne, and saw me as a villain trying to break them up. They treated me like a servant in my own house. And Julian never once defended me. Even if I was pregnant with his child, I still had to give Anne a blood transfusion. They didn't even say thank you at the end. They just said it was my honor. It wasn't the first time I'd been mistreated, but it was the first time I'd chosen to accept it without a fight. Fine. I'll head home on my own. I shut the car door and walked off ahead of them. It was rush hour, so I couldn't even catch a cab. Someone who had recently had an abortion. I wandered for an hour in the searing heat to come home. I was greeted by harsh complaints when I pushed the door open. Scarlett, why are you so slow? We've been home for ages. We haven't eaten all night. Come on, let's taste your cooking again. I turned my gaze to Julian and. It was a sweltering summer day, and the air conditioning was off, because they didn't want the fragile and to catch a cold. Julian sat beside her, fanning her with a paper fan. Despite breaking into a sweat himself, he ignored it entirely and kept fawning over and. Sam shouted after seeing I was quiet. Julian, we're all starving. Tell your wife to cook us something to eat. Julian finally looked up. He casually ordered without noticing how pale I was. Scarlett, go make us something simple to eat. And make some soup for Anne. It'll help her recover. A sharp pain stabbed I had at my heart, making it hard to breathe. I turned and walked into the kitchen, trying to block out their happy voices. I felt like a stranger in my own home. I used to argue with them hysterically, as if it could restore my dignity. Still, I didn't realize that my outbursts only fueled their arrogance. And was always patient and different from my childish nature. But I've had enough. These people. This relationship. It's not worth the energy. I was exhausted by the time I brought out the food. And offered to help, but flinched away as I handed her the soup. The chicken soup spilled all over the floor, and the bowl shattered into countless pieces. Watch out. Julian quickly shielded Anne, but a large patch of my bare calf turned red from the scalding liquid. Scarlett, I know you don't like me, but you didn't have to drop the bowl on purpose. Even though not a single drop of soup splashed on her, and threw herself into Julian's arms, and acted like she had been wronged. That's right. What are you doing, Scarlett? You've been targeting Anne for so long. We're all just friends. Why are you acting like this? She let go of the bowl first. I coldly swept my gaze over the people chastising me and spoke calmly. Still, Julian cut them off sharply before they could say more. Scarlett, apologize. You've gone too far this time. And just got out of the hospital. And you scared her. Even though it was a hot summer day. I shivered uncontrollably as if I had fallen into a cold cave. The burning pain in my calf was nothing compared to the agony in my heart. The man who once gave me a sense of safety and strength now seemed like an executioner, cutting me to pieces. The final thread in my mind snapped. Fine. I'll apologize. I laughed bitterly, tears welling up in my eyes. Julian was taken aback momentarily and tried to reach out to me. But I dodged him. Dinner is ready. And I've apologized. Can I go to my room to bandage my burn now? I shook the blistered skin, hoping he would finally leave me alone. After saying that, I ignored the mess and returned to my room. There was a lot of noise outside the door. And I heard Anne's aggrieved voice. I'm sorry. It's all my fault that Scarlett is angry. I'm such a jinx. I shouldn't cause you any more trouble. I heard the door opening as Anne ran out. And everyone worriedly ran after her. The door slammed shut with a deafening noise. Just when I thought Julian would follow her. He pushed open the door and came in. He hugged me from behind and his big hand stroked my belly scar. Charlotte, why can't you just give in to her? Anne is still like a child. You need to be more understanding. Besides, we're having a baby now. Once I've sorted out work, I'll make it up to you with a proper wedding. Don't be mad, alright? His voice was unexpectedly gentle with a hint of coaxing. Oh, so you do remember that I'm pregnant? I pushed his hand away and couldn't help but sneer. Julian's smile froze as his phone buzzed in his pocket. He picked it up. Sam's voice rang loudly in the quiet room. Julian, hurry over. And fainted on the way here. And we still need someone to pay for the hospital fees. Julian grabbed the bank card we had all been saving from the bedside. Table without hesitation. Are you out of your mind, Julian? I blocked his way, furious. You're going to take the money we saved for our baby. Just to pay for Anne. His eyes darkened with frustration. And he rushed out regardless of my obstruction. Enough, Scarlett. Someone's life is at stake. And all you care about is your petty nonsense. Stop being so selfish. I pounded his shoulder frantically. But he was so strong he pulled me out of the room. Selfish? She's your childhood friend. Not mine. Why should I spend my money on her? Julian seemed enraged by something I said. And pushed me down like an angry leopard. The shards on the ground hadn't been cleaned up. And my exhausted body collapsed onto them. Pain shot through my body as I raised my hand to find my back and arms covered in cuts. Julian has already left, not even looking back at me. Staring at my bloody hands. I used the last of my strength to call for an ambulance. Before blacking out. In the haze of unconsciousness. I dreamed of the young boy. He used to be the one who climbed the hill with me to pray at the old church. He clasped his hands together. His expression devout. I'll protect Scarlett for my whole life. If I ever break this vow, may I meet a terrible end. When I woke up, it was already late at night. I was the only one in the dark ward. A nurse came in, handed me a glass of water, and helped me sit up. She looked at my bandaged arms and couldn't help but sigh. Miss, you just had an abortion and now you're like this again. Please take care of yourself and rest more. I closed my eyes, letting the bitterness and pain wash over me. After thanking her quietly, I opened my phone. The first thing I saw was a post from Sam on his feed. Indeed, only Julian cares about and. The photo showed Julian sitting on a hospital bed. At the same time, and rested her head on his lap. Smiling happily and contentedly. A scumbag and a shameless woman. No wonder people say they're made for each other. The ache in my chest turned into numbness. I forced myself to push the sadness aside. They didn't deserve my tears or my pain. I logged into my mobile banking app and checked my account. Thankfully, the $14,000 I had saved for myself was still there. I calmly transferred the money into my account. My marriage with Julian also came to an end. With the loss of this child. I called the general manager and asked Is Lily. Is there still a chance for me to be transferred to the headquarters? I was offered a promotion to headquarters. Because of my outstanding work. A week ago. Still. I turned it down because I was pregnant. And didn't want to be separated from Julian. Now none of that mattered anymore. Scarlett, weren't you pregnant? Don't worry about work right now. Rest well and take care of yourself. There will be other chances in the future. Hearing Lily's gentle voice. I breathed deeply to calm myself. Miss Lily, I lost the baby. I'd like to return to work as soon as possible. There was a brief silence on the other end before she spoke. I'll add your name back to the list. Losing a child isn't a small thing. Rest for a week and then report to headquarters. I agreed softly, my voice trembling a little. Thank you, Miss Lily. During my week in the hospital, Julian never came to visit. Maybe he didn't even realize I was still pregnant. I wasn't surprised. That was just how he was. I used to make excuses for him all the time. But not anymore. After a week of rest, my body had recovered enough for me to be discharged. During this time, I scrolled through Anne's social media. Every single post was about Julian. In the photos. And looked like a little princess surrounded by admirers. She was always at the center, filling her table with nutritious meals and countless gifts. Meanwhile, I was alone in the hospital with nothing. Even the pearl necklace Julian promised to buy me now shone around Anne's neck. It was odd seeing these things again and feeling absolutely nothing. When I got home, it was just as I'd left it. Julian had been at the hospital with Anne. He hadn't come home. And probably didn't even know I had been hospitalized. I quickly packed my things, tossing the photo from my nightstand, and burning the love letters he'd written me. I took off my wedding ring and left it on the coffee table. When I was done, I looked around the empty house. It felt like it did when we first moved in. Cold and lifeless. I lowered my gaze to the divorce papers. Picked up a pen and signed my name on the back. Showed up alone. Before I could call Julian to come home and sign the papers. When he walked in, I was talking to a coworker about work. My coworker asked me about my flight. And I replied, it tomorrow afternoon. I hung up as soon as I saw him walk through the door. He frowned. What's happening tomorrow afternoon? A prenatal checkup. I put away my phone and replied flatly. Just work stuff, not a checkup. Only then did I notice the food container in his hand. He met my gaze and handed it over. I'm sorry, Scarlett. Anne's been in the hospital these past few days. And I couldn't leave her side. I bought you a fish soup to help you recover. I didn't take it because the faint smell of fish made me nauseous. We had been married for years. And he still doesn't know I couldn't eat fish. How ironic. I didn't even have the energy to argue. Oh, right. This is Anne's silk dress. It can't go in the washing machine. Can you hand wash it tonight? I suddenly had doubts as I listened to these words. And looked at the person before me. I didn't know if he had changed. Or if I had always married someone like this. I said through my gritted teeth. Just leave it there. I need to grab some clothes to change into. Then I'll head back, he said quickly, heading into the bedroom to pack. I took that opportunity to walk over to him with the divorce papers. Julian, our mortgage is all paid up. Just need your signature here. He didn't suspect a thing and signed his name without hesitation. I watched him leave with his bag of clothes. Then I booked a flight. 2 hours later, I slipped off my wedding ring and laid the divorce papers and the abortion slip on the coffee table. Those were the final things I wanted Julian to see. It was over between us. The plane engines roared, a deafening sound that somehow felt like silence compared to the chaos I was leaving behind. As the landing gear retracted, watching the city shrink into a grid of meaningless lights, I didn't feel the relief I expected. I felt hollow. I ordered a whiskey, drank it in one go, and for the first time in months, I slept without dreaming of blood or hospitals. Back on the ground, in the house I used to call home, time was ticking toward a detonation. Julian returned 2 hours later. He was humming a tune, carrying a bag of takeout, fried chicken, greasy and heavy. He probably thought it was a peace offering. Scarlett, he called out, kicking off his shoes. I'm back. I didn't get the fish soup, the place was closed, so I got chicken. Silence answered him. Scarlett? He walked into the living room. The air was stale. The blinds were drawn. It was then that he saw the coffee table. It wasn't the divorce papers that caught his eye first, it was the ring. The simple silver band he had placed on my finger 3 years ago sat lonely on the glass surface, reflecting the dim light. He frowned, a flicker of annoyance crossing his face. Stop playing games, Scarlett. Come out. He walked to the bedroom. Empty. The closet doors were open. My side was bare. The hangers lay on the floor like skeletons. His annoyance turned into a low thrum of panic. He rushed back to the living room and finally looked at the papers. Divorce agreement. Signed. Medical report, termination of pregnancy. Date, August 14 th. Reason, missed miscarriage due to severe anemia and stress-induced trauma. August 14. The date of the blood transfusion. Julian froze. The paper shook in his hand. He read the line again. Missed miscarriage. That meant the baby had died inside me days before the surgery. And the cause, anemia. The anemia he had ignored. The anemia he had exacerbated by forcing me to drain my life force for and. No, he whispered, his voice cracking. She said she was going for a checkup. He pulled out his phone, his fingers trembling so hard he dropped it twice. He dialed my number. The number you have dialed is no longer in service. He called Lily, my manager. Where is she? Put Scarlett on the phone. Lily's voice was ice cold. Mr. Black? Scarlett doesn't work here anymore. She transferred. And frankly, if you ever contact her through this office again, I will file a harassment suit. Do not call again. The line went dead. Julian sank onto the sofa. The silence of the house wasn't peaceful, it was a judgment. The faint smell of the fried chicken became nauseating. He looked at the divorce papers, then at the abortion slip. The realization hit him like a physical blow to the gut. I wasn't being petty. I wasn't being jealous. I was grieving a child he had helped kill, and while I was bleeding out my grief, he was buying soup for the woman who caused it. 3 months passed. I was settled in the capital city. The headquarters was a different beast, fast-paced, ruthless, and exactly what I needed. I buried myself in work. I cut my hair into a sharp bob, traded my soft cardigans for tailored blazers, and became the woman I was meant to be before Julian Black reduced me to a shadow. I met Liam roughly 2 months in. He was the director of operations, a man with sharp eyes and a soft voice. He didn't ask me to fetch coffee. He asked me for my opinion on quarterly projections. He noticed when I was tired and simply placed a matcha latte on my desk without making a scene. You work like you're running from something, Scarlett, he said one late evening as we were the only 2 left in the office. I'm not running, I said, typing the final sentence of a report. I'm climbing. Liam smiled, a genuine expression that reached his eyes. Just make sure you don't forget to look at the view on the way up. Meanwhile, back in my old city, Julian's life was decomposing. Without me there to act as the buffer, the dynamic between Julian and his friends shifted. And moved in, temporarily, to help Julian cope with the divorce, claiming she felt guilty. It took exactly 2 weeks for the facade to crack. Julian, why is the laundry piling up? And whined, sitting on the couch scrolling through her phone. I have nothing to wear. Julian, exhausted from a double shift to cover the mortgage, which was now solely his responsibility since I stopped contributing, rubbed his temples. The washer is right there, Anne. Just press the button. But I don't know how to separate the colors. Scarlett always did it. Besides, the detergent smell makes me dizzy. Julian gritted his teeth. Then take it to the dry cleaners. With what money? You said we have to be tight this month. Sam and the other friends came over less frequently. Without my cooking, the house wasn't a welcoming hangout spot. It was messy, the fridge was full of takeout boxes, and the atmosphere was tense. One night, Sam made a joke. Man, this place is a dump. Scarlett kept it nice. Maybe you should beg her to come back. And slammed her chopsticks down. If you miss her so much, go marry her. She abandoned Julian when he needed her most. Sam looked at Julian, then at Anne. Actually, and didn't she leave because you guys treated her like trash? I saw the divorce post someone leaked. She had a miscarriage the week you made her give blood. The room went dead silent. That's a lie, and shrieked, her face turning red. She's lying to make me look bad. I saw the medical report, Julian said quietly. He hadn't spoken much all evening. He was staring at his beer bottle. It wasn't a lie. And froze. She looked at Julian with wide, tearful eyes, the same look that used to make him melt. Julian, you don't believe her over me, do you? I could have died. You had a stomach ulcer, and, Julian snapped, looking up. His eyes were bloodshot. She lost a child. My child. It was an accident. And cried. Was it? Julian asked. Or was it convenient? That night, Julian didn't sleep in the bed. He slept in the guest room, staring at the ceiling, the ghost of my crying face burned into his retinas. A year later. I was promoted to senior project manager. My team was spearheading a merger with a tech firm in my old city. I tried to decline the trip, but Liam, now my mentor and close friend, encouraged me. You're not the same person who left there, Scarlett, he said, adjusting his tie. Go back as a conqueror, not a victim. He was right. I flew back first class. I stayed in a 5-star hotel. When I walked into the conference room for the merger negotiation, I was wearing a crimson suit that cost more than Julian's car. And there he was. Julian was part of the opposing team's delegation. He looked older. Gaunt. His shirt was wrinkled at the hem, and he had dark circles under his eyes. When I walked in, he dropped his pen. It clattered loudly on the mahogany table. Scarlett, he breathed. I didn't blink. I walked to the head of the table, opened my portfolio, and addressed the CEO of his company. Good morning, gentlemen. I'm Scarlett Reed, representing the Horizon Group. Shall we begin? For 3 hours, I dismantled their proposal. I was professional, articulate, and ruthless. I could feel Julian's eyes on me the entire time, a mix of awe and profound misery. When the meeting ended, I packed up quickly. Scarlett, wait. I stopped near the elevator but didn't turn around. Julian scrambled to catch up. Scarlett, please. You look amazing. I turned slowly. Thank you, Mr. Black. Is there a question regarding the merger? Stop calling me that, he pleaded. He tried to reach for my arm, but I stepped back. I've been trying to find you for a year. I went to your old office. I called your parents. No one would tell me anything. Because I asked them not to. I know about the baby, he blurted out. I know I messed up. I know I forced you. I didn't know the anemia was that bad. I thought you were just being difficult. And that's the problem, Julian, I said, my voice calm. You always thought my pain was an inconvenience to your narrative of being Anne's hero. I kicked her out, he said quickly, as if that would fix everything. I realized, she lied. She wasn't that sick. I kicked her out 6 months ago. I'm alone, Scarlett. I miss you. I miss us. I looked at him, really looked at him. I searched for the love I used to feel. I checked my heart for that familiar ache. There was nothing. Just a mild pity, like seeing a stranger struggling with heavy groceries. There is no us, Julian. The woman who loved you died on that operating table. The elevator dinged. Liam was inside. He saw Julian, saw the tension, and stepped out, placing a protective hand on the small of my back. Ready to go, Scarlett. Dinner reservations are at 7. Julian looked at Liam, then at me. The contrast was brutal. Liam was polished, calm, and looked at me with respect. Julian looked like a man drowning. Goodbye, Julian, I said. The doors closed, severing the connection. Julian didn't give up. He had seen the light, and he couldn't go back to the darkness. He began showing up at my hotel. He sent flowers to the temporary office. But the real storm was brewing elsewhere. And hadn't disappeared. After Julian kicked her out, she had latched onto Sam, but Sam had quickly tired of her demands. Now, seeing Julian chasing me again, and seeing my success, her jealousy curdled into something dangerous. She intercepted Julian outside his apartment complex one rainy evening. She looked ragged. Her innocent princess act had worn thin, revealing the sharp edges underneath. You're trying to get her back. And spat. After she humiliated us. She didn't humiliate us, Julian said wearily. We destroyed her. Go away, Anne. I have nothing, she screamed. You promised to take care of me. Your childhood vow. I vowed to protect you, not to let you ruin my life. Julian shouted back. You manipulated me. You faked the severity of your condition. I spoke to the doctor, Anne. I went back and checked the records. You didn't need that transfusion urgently. You could have waited for the blood bank. You wanted her to bleed. Anne's face twisted. She deserved it. She stole you from me. You were always mine. I was never yours. I was your friend. And you used that to kill my child. Julian pushed past her. And stood in the rain, trembling with rage. If she couldn't have the happy ending, no one would. The final night of my business trip was the annual industry gala. I wore a backless emerald gown. Liam was my date, looking dashing in a tuxedo. The ballroom was filled with the city's elite. I was socializing, laughing, feeling truly free. Julian was there, standing in the periphery, watching me with a glass of scotch in his hand. He looked like a ghost haunting the living. Midway through the evening, a commotion started near the entrance. Let me in. I need to speak to her. It was Anne. She had gotten past security, likely using her old connections or sheer hysteria. She burst into the ballroom, her hair wet, wearing a dress that was too small and stained. She spotted me instantly. You, she shrieked, pointing a shaking finger. You think you've won? You think you're better than me? The music stopped. The room went silent. Liam stepped in front of me, but I gently touched his arm. It's okay. I stepped forward. Anne. You're making a scene. You took everything, she cried, pulling something from her purse. It wasn't a weapon, but a stack of photos. She threw them into the air. They fluttered down. They were old photos of me and Julian, from when we were poor and struggling. He loved me first. He only married you because I wasn't available. You were always the placeholder. The crowd murmured. It was pathetic. It wasn't the takedown she thought it was a public display of insanity. Julian stepped out from the crowd. He walked up to Anne. Stop it, he said, his voice low and dangerous. Tell her, Julian. And grabbed his lapels. Tell her you love me. Julian looked at her, then he looked at me. He saw the indifference in my eyes. He saw Liam standing beside me, ready to catch me if I fell. But he realized I didn't need catching anymore. I don't love you, and, Julian said, his voice carrying through the silent hall. I despise you. And more than that, I despise myself for letting you turn me into a monster. Scarlett was the best thing that ever happened to me, and I threw her away for a lie. And gasped, stepping back as if slapped. And you, Julian turned to me, tears streaming down his face, ignoring the hundreds of people watching. Scarlett, I am so sorry. I know sorry doesn't fix it. I know I can't bring the baby back. But I will spend the rest of my life regretting every single moment I made you cry. He fell to his knees. Julian Black, the man who was once too proud to defend his wife, was kneeling in a ballroom, broken. Please, he sobbed. Just tell me what to do to make the pain stop. I looked down at him. A year ago, this would have vindicated me. A year ago, I would have wept. Now, I just felt tired. You can't make it stop, Julian, I said softly. You have to live with it. Just like I had to. I turned to the security guards who had finally arrived. Please escort Ms. Anne out. And Mr. Black. I think he needs some air. I took Liam's arm. Let's go. I've had enough of the past. We walked away, leaving Julian kneeling on the floor and then screaming as she was dragged out. I didn't look back. 6 months later. I was sitting on the balcony of my new apartment, overlooking the skyline of the capital. The merger was a massive success. I was now a partner at the firm. My phone buzzed. It was a news alert. Local news, man found unconscious in apartment, alcohol poisoning suspected. I didn't need to click the link to know who it was. Friends had told me Julian had spiraled. He lost his job. He lost the house, the mortgage payments were missed, and he didn't fight the foreclosure. He spent his days drinking, visiting the cemetery where he had set up a small, empty plaque for our unborn child. And wasn't doing much better. She had been blacklisted from polite society after the gala. Rumor had it she was moving back to her parents' rural village, aged and bitter, telling anyone who would listen about how she was wrong. I put the phone down. Liam walked out onto the balcony, carrying 2 mugs of tea. He sat beside me, wrapping a blanket around my shoulders. Everything okay? He asked. I looked at the city lights, millions of them shining against the darkness. I thought about the girl who walked out of the hospital with a pale face and a bleeding heart. I thought about the boy who promised to protect her in the old church. They were both gone now. Yes, I said, leaning my head on Liam's shoulder. Everything is finally quiet. I took a sip of tea. It was warm. I'm ready for what's next. What's next? Liam asked, kissing the top of my head. Life, I smiled. Just life. The scars on my heart were still there, but they no longer bled. They were just marks of where I had been, proof that I had survived the fire and walked out of the ashes, not as a victim, but as a woman made of gold and steel. The past was a closed book. The future was unwritten. And for the first time in a long time, I couldn't wait to write it.